I'm Frank Rozasy, and I'm an artist, and I'm living here in Santa Monica. And right now we're in my one-bedroom apartment, and I use the bedroom here as my studio. And I've been here, I'm a native from Los Angeles, and I've been living here in Santa Monica for the past 25 years. And I use my little apartment to make my art and sell my art. Right now, this is one of the pieces I'm working on right now is I do a lot of fantasy art, and this is my friend Do Gentry, and I've been making art of her for the last 25 years, and I do computer graphics of her. This is a oil pastel that I've done of her. This is an oil that I'm working on right now. And we've been making art together, and I make fantasy art. But besides making the fantasy art, I have 4 or 5 different pieces kind of art that I make, and one of them is I do jazz art, and that's a picture of John Coltrane there, and I actually collaborated with a very famous jazz photographer by the name of Ray Avery, and we've been collaborating now for the past, I think, close to 20 years. He passed a while back, but I still have the rights to use his pictures to start some of my art through his estate. And I actually made a documentary video of Ray Avery, and I showed it at a lot of different venues, and one of the best ones was Tennessee Technological University. They gave me a one-man show, and that's my jazz. And then on the next over, you can see this is my pile. It's my nostalgic art, and I have a lot of old family photographs, and I take the old family photographs and I make these mixed media photographs, and they end up being they're from the 20s and the 30s. My dad took photographs, and a lot of my relatives took photographs. My grandmother, she was a teacher in San Francisco. She taught singing and dance, and so we have a lot of different photographs from her studio there. So I take them and I do a sort of a mixed media watercolor photography, the same with the jazz, and that's another section that I do. And then I also have the rights to do certain Marilyn Monroe photographers. I can use their art also. I have the copyrights for it, but I can only make one of a kind, because making Marilyn Monroe art, you're not really allowed to. Art that's not one of a kind, you can't do additions. So I have a lot of different Marilyn art. And then finally at the end over there, as Ginger's panning around, that's more of my dough art. And she is, that's the lady who she's my muse, and I've been collaborating with her for a really long time. So this is like sort of this is my tiny little room, and this is where, I make all my art. But besides, since I started, actually my whole life I've always wanted to be an artist. And some of my earliest memories are drawing from the World Book Encyclopedia, and I always sort of knew that all I was going to do is make art, and I really never cared about money. I still want to just have enough money to be able to make art. And my other essence, and that's one of the reasons I live in Santa Monica, is I'm a long-distance ocean swimmer. So every day I go walk a couple of blocks down to the beach and swim a mile to 2 miles in the ocean and come back and make my art. And then every so often, hopefully, I can sell enough pieces to keep me going. And I have a lot of different side jobs, which all of us, artists have to do to, make ends meet.
That is wonderful. Now, I read something in the LA Times about you. Can you tell me a little bit about the Glow Festival that you were in?
Yeah, the Glow Festival, what happened about 3 years ago, the city of Santa Monica, they wanted to do one of these nighttime festivals of light like they have in Paris. And it would go all night long. So they had a call for artists to give them what they wanted to do is they wanted to have a lot of different artists come and do these site-specific installations on the stand that would last all night long, and it was called Glow. And was sort of a picture of my Glow installation. And my installation that I did was very simple. All I did is I took thousands of glow sticks and I put them on the sand, and I made a huge field of glow sticks, and they were all colored, and they went from yellow to red to orange to purple to blue, and it was, you know, the size of a football field, and everybody just walked around and hung out on that, and it was really good. And because it was so simple and good, I got a lot of promotion from it and a lot of publicity from it. And that was 3 years ago, and then last year they did another glow, and the first one that they had here, there was just so many people. They expected like 35,000 people to come, and 250,000 came, and it jammed up the freeways, and it was just totally packed. It ended up being a rave. And so what was great is, because little did we know that, you know, my glow stick thing, you know, is the perfect thing for a rave. So it was great. And then they did it again, and then so last September they had it again, and this is the picture but the thing of what leading in from the glow is that I do a lot of site-specific installations, and one of my site-specific installations it's called Walk on the Art. And what I do
That's how I met you.
And that's how Ginger and I met. She was at one of my Walk on the Art shows, and what I do is, because I've been doing so much art, I've had time enough to do so much art in my life, because I really don't have, because I'm really looking to make art rather than, you know, spending my time making money. I make just enough money so I can have my rent, but then I make art, that I've literally had thousands and thousands of pieces of art. And so about 15 years ago, I had an exhibition, and they gave me a little room to do a site-specific installation in. And what I did is I took some of my art, some of my prints that I had, and different stuff. Like here was moving over here. Like, see if I had a print. Here's a print of Santa Monica, and then maybe there was some other ones.
This
like
is the one.
This was another print that I had that was from the show that I met Ginger at. But then you put them all on the ground, and then you lay the whole floor out in certain areas in the gallery, and then people have to go, and then they just end up walking on the art. And I did it the first time, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, walk on the art! That's so strange, and it's so weird," and you know, and it just got this huge reaction that every year for the past 15 years I keep doing a walk on the art. I find a gallery that can do it for me, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I start putting in more art, and then just besides prints, then I started putting paintings and drawings, and you know, I have a whole warehouse now, not a warehouse, but a storage unit filled with all my walk on the art. And I literally have thousands and thousands of pieces. And they don't, believe it or not, they don't really get damaged, because what happens when people walk into the gallery, they'll stop at the door and they'll see all the art on the ground, and they end up walking on the ground, and they just walk so delicately, and it's just such a dynamic. And one of the dynamics that I do it is I want people to look at, first of all, it was hard to shock the art world anymore with any of the the isms anymore. But then this one writer came in and he looked and he said, well, Mr. Rozasy has shocked me, because he's actually made it where I was walking on his art. And so it's a nice little it's a nice little niche that I have. So